Example number 4, we're still doing reductions. So we have got a more complicated one. We've got cos square 180 plus alpha plus sine square 360 minus alpha over sine square 180 minus alpha times cosine 180 minus alpha. How does this simplify? So first thing we know is we are going to use our cos diagram. And according to our cos diagram, this is quadrant 1, this is quadrant 2, this is quadrant 3, and this is quadrant 4. So we need to identify where everything is. Our first one, 180 plus, is going to be in quadrant 3. 360 minus is going to be over here in quadrant 4. 180 minus is over here in quadrant 2. And 180 minus is in quadrant 2. What's different between this and the previous question is the square sign, but it's not going to affect us at all. We're just going to ignore it until we get to such a point where it's relevant, which I don't think it's going to be in this one, but we'll have a look. Okay, so let's see. Do you remember what I said? I said if you are using the x-axis, which is what we're using, we don't change our sine cos tan. It remains the same. So our first one is going to remain cos squared. And we're going to keep these angles, right? So all of these angles are alpha, cos squared alpha. Then our second one is going to be sine squared alpha. Our third one is going to be sine squared alpha. And our fourth one is going to be cos alpha. Put that one closer. The only thing that we need to know based on our cos diagram is what are the signs? Are they positive or negative? So let's answer that question. Remember, this is multiplication. Okay, so are the signs positive or negative? In quadrant 3, tan is positive, so cos is negative. In quadrant 4, cos is positive, sine is negative. In quadrant 2, sine is positive, so sine is positive, and in quadrant 2, sine is positive, cos is negative. That's what we got, right? Okay, so now we need to simplify further. How do we go about doing this? What we can do is we can rearrange if you feel more comfortable doing that. Because now, because of the minus signs, let's put brackets just so that you can see that it's attached. But yeah. I would put this square sign on the outside. Okay, listen to me carefully. If you put the square sign on the outside, what would happen is, because it's a number squared, like -2 squared is equal to +4. Any minus that is squared becomes positive. So this is where this square sign influences us. Because what happens is that everything changes to a positive sign. So I put the square sign outside of the brackets, and notice the last one doesn't have a square sign. So if I now square it, plus squared is plus. This becomes cos squared alpha times sine squared alpha divided by sine squared alpha multiplied by negative cosine alpha. This is very important for you to know. The square sign, we did all the steps correctly, but the square sign means that minus times minus, there are two negatives, therefore it is positive. All right, last things last, we need to cancel. I can cancel sine squared alpha with sine squared alpha. That's perfect. If I do that, I'm left with cosine squared alpha over negative cosine of alpha. But cosine squared alpha is actually cosine alpha multiplied by cosine alpha, or negative cosine alpha multiplied by negative cosine alpha. Since they're both negative, I can cancel that with that, and my final answer is negative cosine of alpha. So what impact did the square sign have? the square sign meant that everything under that square sign is all positive. Even if it's negative on its own, once it is squared, it becomes positive.